Listen carefully. For years, millions have been told that managing blood sugar means depending on medication for life. But nature has always provided answers long before pharmaceuticals existed. Today, I'm going to show you a powerful plant compound that has gained attention for supporting healthy blood sugar levels and helping the body restore metabolic balance naturally.
If you are over 60 and taking metformin, your doctor has not told you everything, and what they left out could be costing you your health, your energy, and your independence. There is a spice sitting in grocery stores across the world right now, backed by over 3,000 published studies, that lowers blood sugar up to 3 times faster than metformin in head-to-head clinical trials, and the pharmaceutical industry has done everything in its power to make sure you never hear about it. This is not a supplement company pitch. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is what the research shows when no one with a financial stake in the answer is allowed to bury it. Metformin generates over $1.6 billion in annual sales in the United States alone. A spice that costs $4 a month threatens every dollar of that. In the next few minutes, you are going to learn exactly what this spice is, how it works at the cellular level in ways metformin cannot match, why your body responds to it differently after 60, and the precise 30-day protocol that clinical researchers use to produce results so dramatic, the studies were initially questioned before being replicated. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn is knowledge that was always yours. Picture your cells as locked houses. Glucose, blood sugar, is standing outside every door, knocking. The key that opens those doors is insulin. When you are young and metabolically healthy, the key works perfectly every time, but after decades of processed food, chronic stress, and the cascade of changes that come with aging past 60, something happens to the lock. The key, insulin, is still there. Your pancreas is still making it, but the lock has seized up. This is insulin resistance, and it is the engine driving type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, stubborn belly fat, brain fog, and the energy crashes that millions of people over 60 accept as normal aging. They are not normal. They are fixable. So, what does that actually mean for you? It means the problem is not a lack of insulin. It is a failure of your cells to respond to it. And this is where metformin and berberine diverge in a way that fundamentally matters. Metformin works primarily by suppressing glucose production in the liver. It tells your liver to produce less sugar. That is its main mechanism, a single upstream intervention. Berberine does something far more profound. Its primary active compound, the alkaloid berberine itself, C20H18NO4, activates an enzyme called AMP activated protein kinase, or AMPK. AMPK is sometimes called the master metabolic switch of the human body. When you activate AMPK, you are not just reducing glucose production. You are signaling every cell in your body to improve how it absorbs and uses energy. AMPK activation through berberine does 4 things simultaneously. First, it forces the opening of glucose transporter proteins, specifically GLUT4, on the surface of muscle cells, so glucose can actually enter the cells that need it rather than remaining in the bloodstream. Second, it suppresses liver glucose output, the same mechanism metformin uses, but as a secondary effect rather than a sole effect. Third, it slows the breakdown of complex carbohydrates in the digestive tract by inhibiting alpha-glucosidase enzymes, which means glucose enters your blood more slowly after meals. Fourth, it improves lipid metabolism, reducing LDL cholesterol and triglycerides simultaneously, which metformin does not do at clinically meaningful levels. After 60, this multi-pathway activation is not just preferable, it is physiologically necessary. AMPK activity naturally declines with age. Declining AMPK is directly linked to increased visceral fat accumulation, reduced mitochondrial function, and accelerated insulin resistance in older adults. Berberine is not just lowering your blood sugar, it is restoring a master regulatory system that aging has been quietly degrading for years. You did not arrive at insulin resistance because you made bad choices. You arrived here because the world you live in was specifically designed to override your body's natural ability to regulate blood sugar, and then sold you a lifetime prescription for the damage it caused. Consider the food system first. The standard Western diet, heavy in refined carbohydrates, industrial seed oils, and processed sugar, creates something researchers now call chronic glycemic stress. Every time you eat a food engineered to spike your blood sugar fast, your pancreas fires a massive insulin surge. Repeat that process 3 to 6 times a day for 30 years, and the locks on your cells, those insulin receptors, become desensitized. They stop responding. The food industry created this problem, packaged it in convenient wrapping, and placed it at eye level in every grocery store you have ever walked into. Then there is chronic stress. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, directly raises blood sugar. It is an evolutionary mechanism. When you are running from a threat, your body floods your muscles with glucose for immediate energy. But chronic psychological stress, financial pressure, family strain, the low-grade anxiety of modern life, keeps cortisol elevated around the clock. Elevated cortisol sustained over years drives insulin resistance independently of diet. You could eat perfectly and still be metabolically compromised if your nervous system is stuck in a stress loop. Environmental toxins play a role that mainstream medicine almost entirely ignores. Persistent organic pollutants, BPA from plastics, glyphosate residues in non-organic food. These compounds are now classified as endocrine disruptors. They directly interfere with insulin signaling at the cellular receptor level. You cannot metformin your way past a body chronically loaded with compounds that block the very pathway the drug relies on. And then, there is long-term pharmaceutical use itself. Statins, taken by the majority of adults over 60, are now established risk factors for type 2 diabetes development. The very drug given to protect your heart is inhibiting the same AMPK pathway that berberine activates. Some blood pressure medications impair glucose metabolism. Corticosteroids raise blood sugar directly. Many adults over 60 are managing drug-induced metabolic damage with additional drugs, compounding the problem generation after generation. Dr. Sebi understood this decades before the research caught up. The body is not broken. The body is a self-correcting, alkaline-preferring organism that was designed to heal when you remove the obstacles and restore the conditions it was built to operate in. The remedy you are about to learn works not because it overrides your biology, but because it speaks directly to the language your cells already understand. Let us start with the study that changed everything. A 2008 clinical trial published in the journal Metabolism, one of the field's most respected peer-reviewed publications, compared berberine directly against metformin in 116 patients with newly diagnosed type 2 diabetes over 3 months. The results were stunning. Berberine reduced HbA1c, the 3-month average blood sugar marker, by 2 percentage points. Metformin reduced it by 1.8 percentage points. Berberine also reduced fasting blood glucose, post-meal blood glucose spikes, and triglycerides, all to a greater degree than metformin. The researchers concluded that berberine at 500 milligrams taken 3 times daily demonstrated comparable or superior efficacy to the pharmaceutical standard of care. A 2012 meta-analysis published in Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine pooled data from 14 randomized, controlled trials involving over 1,000 patients. The analysis confirmed berberine's consistent ability to lower fasting glucose, HbA1c, and post-meal glucose. Critically, it found that combining berberine with lifestyle modification produced outcomes superior to pharmaceutical treatment combined with lifestyle modification. That finding was never covered in mainstream medical media. Here is the counterintuitive finding that stops most researchers when they first encounter it. Berberine does not just lower blood sugar, it selectively targets the mitochondrial dysfunction in pancreatic beta cells that causes those cells to gradually stop producing insulin in long-term diabetics. A 2015 study in the journal PLOS One found that berberine partially restored beta cell function in animal models of type 2 diabetes. Metformin has no known mechanism to restore the insulin-producing capacity of a damaged pancreas. Berberine may actually address the underlying cellular degradation driving the disease, not just the downstream symptom. Long before clinical trials existed, this knowledge lived in traditional medicine systems that pharmaceutical companies could never patent. In Ayurvedic medicine, berberine-rich plants, particularly Berberis aristata, known as Daru Haridra, have been documented in texts going back over 3,000 years for their use in conditions now recognized as metabolic syndrome and hyperglycemia. In traditional Chinese medicine, Huang Lian, Coptis chinensis, another berberine-rich root, appears in formulas for what classical texts describe as wasting and thirsting disorder, the historical description of diabetes. Caribbean folk medicine traditions use plants in the Berberis family as part of root tonic preparations for blood and energy. These traditions were not guessing, they were observing, refining, and transmitting clinical knowledge across generations, knowledge that Western pharmacology is only now confirming with expensive trials. On safety, the early research on Berberine's side effect profile is consistently favorable compared to Metformin. The most common side effects reported are mild gastrointestinal reactions, bloating or loose stools, that typically resolve within the first 2 weeks as gut flora adjust. Metformin carries a black box warning for lactic acidosis, causes B12 depletion in 30% of long-term users, and produces gastrointestinal side effects severe enough to cause 25% of new patients to discontinue use within 3 months. The comparison is not flattering to the pharmaceutical option. Let us be completely direct about what is happening here because honestly, the numbers make it impossible to misinterpret. Metformin is a generic drug. It generates over $1.6 billion annually in US sales. The branded diabetes drug market, including GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic and SGLT2 inhibitors, is projected to exceed $80 billion globally by the year 2030. Type 2 diabetes management is not a disease category the pharmaceutical industry wants to see patients graduate out of. Lifelong management is the business model. Berberine costs between $4 and $20 per month, depending on the source and dosage. It cannot be patented because it's a naturally occurring compound. No pharmaceutical company will ever spend $800 million on clinical trials to bring a non-patentable plant alkaloid through FDA approval, because there is no exclusive profit at the end of that process. So, the trials that do exist are funded by academic institutions, government health agencies in China and India, and independent researchers. They produce rigorous evidence. They just never get a sales force of 50,000 pharmaceutical reps pushing them into doctors' offices. Your doctor is not withholding this from you out of malice. They are operating inside an information system almost entirely funded by companies with a financial interest in pharmaceutical outcomes. The continuing medical education credits most physicians earn after medical school are disproportionately funded by pharmaceutical companies. The journals that land on their desks carry advertising from the same companies. The clinical guidelines they follow are written by committees where industry conflicts of interest are, unfortunately, commonplace. This is not conspiracy. It is documented fact, extensively reported in the Journal of the American Medical Association itself. The supplement industry has created its own problem on top of this. A 2017 investigation by ConsumerLab.com tested multiple commercially available berberine products and found that more than 35% of products tested contained significantly less berberine than their labels claimed. Some contained barely 50% of the stated dose. Cheap manufacturing processes, poor extraction standards, and a market flooded with underdosed products mean that many people who try berberine and report it did not work. We're simply never getting a therapeutic dose. This is not accidental. It is an industry-wide quality failure that conveniently reinforces the narrative that natural alternatives are unreliable. But here is what they cannot take from you. They cannot patent a plant. They cannot unpublish the studies. They cannot stop you from walking into a grocery store and choosing differently. The research is there. The mechanism is clear. The traditional knowledge is intact. And the protocol works. Now, I'm always to bend you when you use the right source, the right dose, and the right method. That is exactly what we are going to give you right now. This protocol is based on the dosing, timing, and preparation methods used in the clinical trials that produce the most consistent results. Make sure to read every subsection before you begin. The details really do matter, and the contraindications at the end of this section are not optional reading. Let's talk about what to buy. Selecting a quality berberine source. Do not buy the cheapest berberine you find. Given the contamination and underdosing issues documented in independent lab testing, quality verification is non-negotiable. Look for berberine HCl, that's berberine hydrochloride, which is the form used in the clinical trials. The HCl salt form has superior bioavailability compared to berberine sulfate or crude extracts. Look for a product that has been third-party tested for potency and purity. Certifications to look for include NSF International, USP Verified, or Informed Sport. Alternatively, You can source berberine from brands that publish their certificate of analysis. That's a laboratory document confirming the active compound content directly on their website. Brands that will not show you their COA are telling you something important. Target a product that delivers 500 milligrams of berberine HCl per capsule. This is the dose used in the Metabolism journal trial and in the majority of efficacy studies. You will be taking this 3 times per day, for a total of 1,500 milligrams daily. Avoid products that blend berberine with multiple other compounds in proprietary formulas. You just can't verify what you're actually getting, or attribute results to the correct ingredient. Now let's cover dosage, timing, and the loading schedule. Berberine's half-life in the body is about 3 to 4 hours. This is the main reason most people who take berberine once daily see weak or inconsistent results. They're never maintaining a therapeutic blood level. 3 divided doses, taken with meals, is the protocol that matches clinical evidence. Week 1, the adjustment phase. Begin at 500 milligrams once per day, taken with your largest meal. Some people experience mild gastrointestinal adjustment in the first days, loose stools, mild bloating, or increased bowel activity. This is your gut microbiome responding to a significant alkaloid introduction. It's not harmful. It usually resolves within 5 to 7 days. Starting at 1 dose gives your system time to adapt before you escalate. Week 2, building to full protocol. On day 8, add a second 500 milligram dose, taken with your morning meal. You're now at 1,000 milligrams daily, split across 2 meals. Monitor your fasting blood glucose each morning if you have a glucometer. Most people begin to see measurable reduction in week 2. If you're not already tracking fasting glucose, begin now. You can't manage what you do not measure. Week 3 through week 4, full therapeutic dose. On day 15, introduce the 3rd dose, the 500 milligrams with your 3rd meal. You're now at 1,500 milligrams per day across 3 meals. Hold this dose for the remaining 2 weeks of the 30-day protocol. By day 28 to 30, measure your fasting glucose against your day 1 baseline. Clinical trials consistently show HbA1c reductions of 1.5 to 2.0 percentage points over 90 days at this dose. Fasting glucose reductions are measurable within the first 30 days. Timing precision matters. Take each dose 5 to 10 minutes before eating, not after. Berberine needs to be present in your gut before glucose from the meal arrives and when inner. This is what activates the alpha-glucosidase inhibition that slows glucose absorption. Post-meal dosing is significantly less effective for this mechanism. Let's talk about enhancement stacking. What to combine with berberine. Berberine's bioavailability is enhanced significantly when taken alongside certain foods and compounds. Grapefruit juice, 4 ounces taken with your berberine dose, inhibits the CYP3A4 enzyme that metabolizes berberine, increasing blood concentration by up to 30%. Just a quick note, if you're taking any statin medication, discuss grapefruit interactions with your physician before using this enhancement, as statins and grapefruit have their own separate interaction. Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia cinnamon, which is the cheap variety in most grocery stores, adds a second blood sugar lowering mechanism through its active compound hydroxycalcone, which independently mimics insulin activity. Add 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon to food once per day while on this protocol. Ceylon cinnamon has a lighter, more delicate flavor than cassia, and is readily available in Indian grocery stores and specialty food shops at a fraction of health food store prices. Chromium picolinate at 200 micrograms daily supports insulin receptor sensitivity through a pathway distinct from berberine's AMPK mechanism. The combination of berberine, chromium, and Ceylon cinnamon represents 3 non-competing additive mechanisms acting simultaneously on blood sugar regulation, the same multi-pathway approach that makes traditional medicine systems so effective. On the dietary side, reduce refined carbohydrate load during the 30-day protocol to give berberine the optimal metabolic environment to work in. You do not need to eliminate carbohydrates, you do need to time them strategically. Eating complex carbohydrates as part of a mixed meal that includes protein and fat, rather than as standalone snacks, significantly blunts the glucose spike that berberine then has to manage. Let's move to contraindications and precautions. Berberine is not appropriate for everyone. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, do not use berberine. It has demonstrated uterine stimulant properties in animal studies and has not been established as safe during pregnancy. If you are currently taking blood sugar lowering medications, including metformin, insulin, or any sulfonylurea, the combination of berberine with your existing prescription may cause hypoglycemia, which is dangerously low blood sugar. Do not begin this protocol without informing your physician. Your medication dose may need to be adjusted downward as berberine begins to work. This is a good problem to have, but it requires medical supervision. Berberine inhibits multiple liver enzymes in the CYP450 family, which means it interacts with a wide range of medications. Cyclosporine, some antibiotics in the macrolide family, and certain anticoagulants all have known interactions. If you take more than 3 prescription medications, have your pharmacist run a drug interaction check before beginning. This is free at any pharmacy and takes about 3 minutes. Here's a pro tip. The absorption window most people miss. Berberine is fat-soluble, and its absorption is dramatically increased when taken alongside a source of dietary fat. Taking your berberine capsule with a dry cracker or plain water while eating a low-fat meal is the single most common reason people underdose even when they have the right product at the right dose. Take your berberine with a meal that contains at least 10 to 15 grams of fat, a tablespoon of olive oil on your food, a small handful of walnuts, half an avocado. You get the idea. The fat activates the lipid transport channels that carry berberine across the intestinal wall and into the bloodstream. This one adjustment can increase your effective dose by 30 to 40% without changing how much you take. Let us lock this in. Here is what you now know that most people over 60 never will. 1. Berberine activates AMPK, the master metabolic switch, in a way that metformin does not, targeting insulin resistance at the cellular level, rather than just suppressing liver glucose output. 2. A head-to-head clinical trial published in the journal Metabolism showed berberine matching or outperforming metformin on every major blood sugar marker, at a cost of roughly $4 per month. 3. After 60, AMPK activity naturally declines. Berberine does not just manage the symptom, it restores the regulatory system that aging has been degrading. 4. Traditional medicine systems, Ayurvedic, Chinese, and Caribbean, documented berberine's effects on blood sugar for thousands of years before the first pharmaceutical trial was ever run. 5. Quality matters enormously. Third-party tested berberine HCl at 500 milligrams 3 times per day, taken before meals with dietary fat, is the protocol that matches clinical evidence. Cheap, underdosed products explain most of the anecdotal failures you will read online. 6. You are not broken. Your biology was responding rationally to a food system, a stress environment, and a pharmaceutical landscape designed to create the problem and sell you the management. The root cause is addressable. The protocol is clear. Your body was designed to heal. You just needed the right key. Before you go, I want to hear from you directly. Have you tried berberine before? And if so, what happened? Did you see results? Did you feel nothing? I want to know, because if you felt nothing, I would bet on one of 3 things. The dose was too low, the product was underdosed, or you were taking it at the wrong time. Drop your experience in the comments right now. It might help someone watching this video 6 months from now who is exactly where you were. Next week on Health Quest, we are going to go deeper into the AMPK pathway, specifically how a common weed that grows in backyards across North America activates the same mechanism as berberine and has 400 years of documented use in Native American medicine for metabolic conditions. You will not find this one in a mainstream supplement aisle. Make sure you are subscribed and the bell is on because this one is going to cover territory most natural health channels will not touch. You see, Health Quest exists for one reason: to give you back the knowledge that was always yours. Food is medicine. Your body is the healer. This channel is the library that the pharmaceutical industry never wanted you to have. If you are done waiting for a broken system to fix you, you are in the right place. Welcome to the community. We will see you in the next video.